Joining us now from FAR Limited is Kath Norman. Kath, great to have you in the studio.
Thanks, Tony. Good morning.
So as it's your first video, the first question is, can you please tell us about FAR Limited and a bit about your project portfolio?
Yes, well, FAR Limited is an Australian oil and gas company. Our ticker on the ASX is FAR, F-A-R, so it's easy to remember. We have a portfolio of wonderful oil and gas assets in the northwest of Africa, is our focus area. Back in 2014, we participated in the world's largest oil discovery for 2014, and that was in Senegal, which is the westernmost country in Africa. And since 2014, our joint venture in Senegal has now drilled 11 successful oil wells, 11 out of 11, so 100% success rate, offshore Senegal. And we've made 4 independent discoveries and drilled 7 appraisal wells on that giant field, which is called SNE. The SNE field is now 641 million barrels on a 2C recoverable basis, and we are progressing towards submitting the development plan to the government in September this year.
That's really fantastic. Can you give us a bit of a wider project update on Senegal? When are we looking at hopefully getting into production, getting those approvals in and progressing?
Okay, well, it's been quite a full-on 4 years or 3.5 years since we made the discovery, and we've had 3 years of exploration drilling to appraise the SNE field, and we've got past the 3 principal hurdles of size, deliverability and connectivity. So we understand everything about the oil field now enough to progress to development. We are in a position today where we'll be submitting the discoveries evaluation report to the government in about 2 weeks, which is a statement of commerciality, which I know a lot of our shareholders will be very pleased to see. And with that, we'll be progressively releasing some information about the final size for the development and also the economics. The field will be developed in a phased development approach, so we'll be having a floating production and storage offtake vessel with subsea infrastructure and tiebacks to other discoveries. And we'll be looking to get approval of our development plan by the end of this year. We'll take the final investment decision in mid-2019, and then we've got an ambition to have first oil in about 2022.
And very nearby in the Gambia, you have had some wonderful other discoveries looking to drill in Q4. What can you tell us about the Gambia?
Oh, the Gambia project is where FAR's putting most of their effort at the moment. If we roll the clock back to 2014 when we were drilling in Senegal, we knew that if we made a big discovery, we'd need to put our foot on some acreage around as protection acreage. And we started talking to the operators of blocks A2 and A5 offshore Gambia, which are now, we know, the extension of what looks to be the trend that SNE field sits on. And we farmed in 2017 and took 80% of those blocks and operatorship. This year, in March, we announced that we had brought Petronas, the state oil company of Malaysia, in as a partner. So they'll be a 40% joint venture partner. We'll be left with 40%. And the original company, Air Energy of the US, will have 20%. And we're going to be drilling the first exploration well offshore Gambia for 40 years. And we'll probably spud about October 1. So extremely exciting, and that's a huge prospect. It's called Samo, and it's been assessed to have about 825 million barrels on a P50 basis, so huge.
Yes, and very busy times ahead for FAR Limited.
Very, yes.
And can you tell us a bit about your financing, your cash position to fund all of this, all of these activities over the coming months? Under
the terms of the farming agreement with Petronas, they're carrying us on the costs of the wells. So in the wash, we'll be spending no money on drilling this exploration well, and we'll actually be operating the well, which is great for FAR. So our cash commitments to the end of the year are actually quite modest. We went into the end of Q1 with $40 million in cash, and we're anticipating that the farm out to Petronas will be formally closed in Q2, so in the next few weeks, and that will inject $17 million into FAR. So we're expecting to go into mid-year with about the same, a bit over $40 million in cash.
And of course, Kath, now is not a bad time to be in oil production. Prices ticking up. Where do you see that going?
You know, there are a number of sort of schools of thought about the oil price, the sort of the lower for longer, the sort of oil shock situation. Every time I plot the oil price and the different views, I'm astounded at how poor our industry is at forecasting what the oil price will be. I think one of the good things, though, is the oil price seems to be consolidating around the $70 to $75 mark, which is great. What's Also terrific for us is that given the rout in the oil price over the last few years, offshore drilling costs are down by 70 to 80% on what they were 3 years ago. So where we drilled one well for $200 million in 2014, we drilled 5 wells for $200 million in 2017. And that situation is not forecast to change for a few more years yet. So we'll be drilling Gambia and drilling the development wells for SNE at a period where drilling costs are at a reasonably good price.
Which leads us very nicely into the final question, which is, can you please give us a reminder summary? What are the next key news flows, the big catalysts for you moving forward?
Always having approval for a development plan is a huge plus for a business, and it enables us to take contingent resources and convert them into reserves, and we'll be doing that in our Senegal project over the course of 2018. So that's a huge bonus for FAR and our partners in that joint venture. The big one for us, of course, is Gambia, and drilling an 800 million barrel prospect is large by any company's standards, even Exxon, our biggest. And when you consider that at the moment we have a net 140 million barrels to our name in Senegal and our market cap's $500 million, it's wonderful to think about what our market capitalisation could be after we've drilled this Gambian well and have access to maybe another 300 million barrels to FAR's name. And we'll have the results of that well by mid to late November at the latest, if we spud on October 1.
And Kath, we look forward to having you back in the studio to keep us updated on all of that, if you still have time for us.
Yeah. Thank you, Danny.
As FAR advances, it's a fantastic time to start hearing the story. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Danny.